for you. Happy friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all.
Down here in the deep blue sea. It's completely idiotic.
Through all the flowers, U is for ukulele.
This happened in January of 2020
Watch these horror
when I
short
was
films.
18. Over
Need
winter
some core
break,
attention.
I had signed up for DoorDash since a couple of my friends were also doing it. I didn't really need the money, as I was in high school and still living with my parents, but it was more to just have something to do. And as a kid, a couple $100 a week was pretty nice. My first few nights went smoothly. I got the hang of it after the first 3 or 4 orders, and after
Bro,
that,
it's ugly
it
as
was
hell.
all just the same sort of work cycle. During my second week, I started working more though, getting excited about making money for the first time and trying to make as much as I could. My friends were doing the same and had mentioned that on days with bad weather, you'd usually make even more. So on the one night when snow started coming down, I chose to hit the road and do some deliveries. For the first hour, I was FaceTiming one of my friends as we were both driving around, but he stopped and went home around 8. It was Saturday, so I could stay out as late as I wanted, but by 10, I was getting a little
like that.
bored. I took up one more order. I got the bag and drove to the neighborhood it was in. This was just some regular street with very average houses. By now, the snow had covered up everything though, which made it both hard to drive and hard to see the numbers on the houses. I slowly made my way down the street until finally finding the right address. It was a 2-story, typical-looking suburban home that still had Christmas lights hanging on the trees outside. I parked and put my hazards on, then got out. I double-checked that the bag had everything as I walked up the driveway, but as I approached the porch, I saw that the front
Not
door
see
was
myself.
open.
No,
Not
this is
all the
crazy.
way,
I ain't gonna lie
but
to you.
enough
This
to
is
be
crazy.
strange, considering
flame
it
me in
was
the TikTok
snowing
chat,
and
please.
cold. I figured it was so
I
I
literally
could leave
cannot
the
see
bag
myself.
inside the house rather than out in the snow. So when I got up to the door, I pushed it a little bit more open and slid the bag inside the house. But just as I pulled my phone out to take a picture for confirmation, I heard a woman's voice yell from across the house. She asked if I was the delivery person dropping off her order. It sounded like a young woman, maybe even early 20s. Yeah, I put it right here in your doorway, I said, not expecting the conversation. The woman responded right away, saying I could push the door open and bring the bag to her. I knew it was strange to be asking me to go inside their house, but I pushed the door open just to see where they were. Past the entrance, there was a long
going in the
hallway that
house?
led to what I think was the kitchen, and on the wall, I could see the clear shadow of the woman who was presumably standing right around the corner. Where do you want me to bring it? There was a long moment before the woman responded. She leaned half of her body around the corner and showed herself at the end of the hallway, telling me to just bring it over to her and gesturing with her hands for me to come in.
If you bring
But
it to
as
her,
she
then
went
you must
back
be
around the
retarded.
corner and out of sight, I realized that the shadow outline on the wall hadn't moved with her. It was someone.
Oh hell. Oh hell. If you see this, if someone tells you to come in their house and then you see this and you walk in, that means you wanted to die. That means you wanted to die. And then she's ugly as hell. I'm not walking in that house. Hell no.
else's shadow standing somewhere by her around the corner.
What is that?
I stood there for a second as I felt blood.
What is his face? Bro's ugly as hell. Look like some off Johnny Test. Nah, I ain't gonna lie. Bro's ugly as hell. I see why he does
Blood
that.
rushed through my body. Then I quietly placed the bag down and took a few steps back before turning and rushing away from the house.
Why would you even go
I
inside?
stumbled into my car and glanced back at the house as I pulled away. In the front window, the figure of a large man approached and watched as I left.
That's
I
what you
stopped
get,
at a
dumbass.
nearby gas station to catch my breath and rethink everything that happened. It was pretty clear by how everything played out that this was some kind of setup, but I also knew the police would have nothing but my word to go off of. I did end up reporting it, but when they went to the house to ask the woman about what happened, she denied that anyone else was there and denied the officers access to search the home for anyone else. So, like I said, the police were unable to do anything at the time. What the woman and the man were trying to do by getting me inside their house is unknown. And I can only imagine that I wouldn't be here right now if I had gone inside without thinking twice.
How'd you even think about going inside? You literally don't know
Last
them.
year, my roommate moved out of the house we had been renting together for the past 4 years. By then, both of us had gotten better jobs.
It's
and
a
were
new
getting
story
paid
too, by the
more,
way. It's a new story.
and the house we had wasn't the best. So it was only a matter of time before one of us moved out to get their own place. After he moved, though, I was able to use more of the space in the house and actually just decided to stay there for another year or two. This happened during this time in early December. Our area was going through a week of some pretty bad snowstorms, and the office I worked at allowed us to work from home for a few days if we wanted to. Obviously, I chose to take the offer. I used my old roommate's bedroom as an office and worked throughout the day, but at one
Looks tired
point
as
while I was
hell.
working, there was a knock at the front door. I left the room and checked who it was. There was a man on the porch in a heavy winter jacket. He didn't seem to be a worker or delivery person of any kind, just some regular guy.
Okay, good. He ain't opened the door. I thought he opened
I
it.
opened the door, getting
Soon as I say, good, he didn't do it. He did it. He wants to die. He literally wants to die. Oh my god. This is not a horror short story. This is a I want to die story. These I can't say that on YouTube. These people dumb. They're dumb. What is he doing?
hit by a rush of snow and wind. How can I help you? The man smiled and apologized for interrupting my day, then explained his situation. He said his car got stuck in the snow right on the side of the road next to my house, and he didn't have a phone on him, so he asked if he could borrow mine. Obviously skeptical, I told him to give me a minute. Then I closed the door and went to the other side of the house. I looked out the window at the road he was supposedly stuck on. There was a small SUV that looked like it had actually slid into the curb and gotten stuck in the snowbank. Now that I was pretty sure he wasn't lying, I grabbed a jacket and put on some shoes, then went back to the front door. I was still a bit skeptical, but I stood on the porch with him as he used my phone to call his brother, just so
Gave
that if
him
he
your
did try to
phone?
run with my phone or anything, I could chase after him. Or prevent it.
First of all, you gave bro your phone. Second of all, you gave him your phone and you're standing outside of your house with the door closed. If he wanted to do something to you, you literally set it up perfectly for him. Like, bro's pretty dumb. He's acoustic, like they say on TikTok. He's a pretty acoustic. He gotta be. And I'm not trusting someone with this type of face. Look at his face. Look at his face. Oh my god. Look at his face. Bro. Let's continue.
From leaving. After a quick call, though, the man handed my phone back and thanked me, then walked away. I went inside and checked the
Nah, see? Another red flag.
leaving.
Let me show you.
After a quick call, though, the man handed my phone back and
If a nigga smiles at me like this, that means he wants to kill you. There's literally no way. Why is he grinning? Why is he smiling that hard for letting you use your phone? Why is he smiling that hard though? That hard? Come
Thanked me, then walked away.
No, did he?
I went inside and checked the window, seeing the man getting in his car.
He's about to kill you.
Thinking everything was settled now, I went back to the office and started working again.
Everything's not settled.
Around 7,
Started.
I felt like I'd done enough for the day and took the rest of the night off. It was then that I remembered about the man and his car and went to check on it, but I was surprised to see that the car was still there, and I could see the man moving around inside. It had been almost 3 hours by then, which made me wonder how he was still there. Maybe he was waiting for his brother to get off of work and pick him up. I didn't know, but I went to the kitchen and made some dinner, then sat on the couch to watch TV. I stayed up until about 9:30, then went upstairs to shower and get ready for bed. I turned the water on and got in the shower, but a few minutes in, there was an abrupt and sudden banging on the front door.
Oh shit.
It was loud and harsh, completely jump scaring me and
Hey.
putting me in a fear-induced.
See, another problem. Why does he live by himself? I'm not living by myself, bro. A tip for everybody. Unless you have a gun, or unless you're really antisocial, don't live by yourself. Don't get a house for yourself. That's just my opinion. If I'm getting a house, it's gonna be my house, but I'm gonna be living with people, either my friends or my girlfriend or something. There's no way. See, he lives by himself. If this stranger had somebody with him, he's literally easily killing him. Easy. Come on. Look at, and he's in the shower. He got caught lagging in the shower with
Frozen
soap on his
state
head.
for a
Look at this idiot.
The banging was so loud, it was shaking the walls, and even across the entire house, I could hear that it was coming from the front door. They were hitting it non-stop, and I could even hear them aggressively shaking the door handle. It was such a sudden burst of chaos that it was hard for me to know what to do. I turned off the shower and quickly got dressed, but as I left my room and walked down the upstairs hallway, everything stopped. It was just silent, no more sounds at all. I stopped in place, hearing only the wind from outside and feeling the eeriness set in, before I slowly walked downstairs and up to the front door. Nobody was there anymore. I quickly ran to the window, seeing that the car was still there, but the man was not inside of it. Not knowing what to make of any of it, I called the police. When they came, they noticed multiple sets of shoe prints in the snow, but they were covered up by the storm soon after. They took the license plate of the car though,
What the
and
hell?
found a picture of the owner, and from what I could tell, it was the same guy that I'd helped on my porch.
I told you,
In
bro,
the
it was weird.
following days, they waited for him to turn up, but as far as I know, he never did. It's really disturbing to think about what could have happened that night, right outside my door. Was it that same man desperately trying to get in for some reason, or someone else with a more malicious intent? It seems most think that it was the man running from someone and trying to get help, but what happened afterwards is still up for debate. Nothing is really known about that night. Where the man is now and what he was running from are just a few questions on a long list that will probably never be answered.
That can't be. One more after
It
this.
was
chat.
January, and I was renting out a winter cabin that was by an ice fishing lake. It was a very small, bare-bones cabin with only the essentials and was only there for people like me who liked going out to the lake for fishing or ice fishing. I'd usually bring a friend along with me, but sometimes I went by myself and never had any issues with it. I had planned out 3 days there, with no other real plans in mind except sitting out by the lake and fishing. On the first day when I got there, I
Yeah.
set up my things in the cabin and made myself at
Hold on.
home, brewing some.
I'm not gonna lie. Hold on, Chad. Hold on. Let me move my face cam out of the way. And yeah. Hold on. Wrong thing. My bad. This has to be the ugliest person I've seen in my life. Oh my God. If you look like this, you might need to get plastic surgery, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. He's so damn ugly.
Some hot coffee and relaxing by the fireplace for most of the afternoon. This
How do you
cabin
live-
was only a
How do you
single
live
room,
looking like that?
so the bed, fireplace, and everything else was all in one area. Anyway, I fell asleep early and woke up at 7 a.m. to go out to the lake. It was about a 10-minute walk from the cabin, down a
I'm
short
trying to see if I
forested
can do
path
that
that was
little,
entirely
that
covered
little
in snow.
smile in the dark since I'm so dark.
Once I reached the lake,
I already know y'all gonna
I
flame me
found
in
a
the
good
comments.
spot and got my things situated, drilled into the ice, and started fishing. I find it to be really stress releasing to just sit there and fish, though I do know a lot of people find it to be boring.
What is his life?
I stayed on the lake for several hours, probably 3 or 4, then packed my things as the snow was starting to pick up and the wind was getting heavier. I walked off the lake and back onto the path, but immediately noticed a set of footprints in the snow going alongside mine from earlier. They went right up to the edge of the lake I was at, then turned around and went back down the path toward the cabin. Feeling a little uneasy that someone was out here and had been right behind me, maybe watching me, I chose to follow the prints and see where they led. They mostly went along with the path, going right back to the cabin, but instead of going up to the cabin, they veered off into the woods. As far as I could see, they continued in a straight line, going through the trees. Even more confused and slightly nervous, I went back inside the cabin and warmed up by the fireplace. There was nothing else out here for miles from what I was aware of, so anyone being out here was just odd, especially in the winter. I made food and stayed in the cabin for the rest of the night, keeping the fireplace running and mostly just reading. But about an hour after sunset, I heard movement outside. A very light crunching in the snow, but in the recognizable pattern of someone walking. I moved over to the window and looked, instantly seeing a figure out by the trees, walking toward the path. They were wearing thick clothing, covering every part of them, making it hard to get any details on what they looked like. Once they got to the path, though, they turned and started
Oh, hell
coming
no.
right for the cabin. I ducked my head down, now just listening to the footsteps getting closer and closer until they were right up to the wall. The footsteps moved to the side, coming right up to the window I was hiding under. Their shadow moved around like they were peering inside the cabin, but then they stopped. I tilted my head up, seeing their eyes staring right back at me. I jumped away, now standing a few feet from the window, as
Why
the
would you
person quickly tried to lift it open. I ran and grabbed a nearby knife, but after a few more attempts at opening the window, the person ran off. I watched their figure disappear into the snowy woods, going in the same
Why he run
direction
like
I'd
that?
seen them come from. After that, I packed up and ran for my car, leaving the area only a few minutes later. I don't know who they were or what they wanted, but they knew I was staying
Look
there
at him.
after seeing me at
That's
the
heart
lake
rate.
and willingly came back in the middle of the night to try and break in through the window, so they definitely had something horrible in mind. Luckily, I got out unharmed.
Bro's talking about luckily, but you're the one who decided to live in that deserted area, bro. What? Like, if this happened in like say like populated area. He's not
But
doing
I have
that.
a feeling
He's not doing that.
night was close to being my last.
Should have been. You a dumbass.
This happened in 2015. I had just moved to a small house far from my hometown the year before, so I was still getting used to the area and hadn't met many people yet. I worked from home as well, which made it even harder. Anyway, for Christmas, I had no plans at all. My family was too far, and I didn't have enough vacation time to go out and see them, so this was actually going to be my first Christmas alone. On Christmas Eve, I stayed up working, figuring I'd just get ahead on some things, so I didn't have to worry about doing anything on Christmas Day. I was working in the living room, listening to music as well, when through it, I heard something coming from outside. I pulled out one of the earbuds and listened, but didn't hear anything
What
else.
are these player
So
builds?
I got up
Like,
and looked around.
why does he look like that?
With my earbuds in, it was hard to know what direction it came from, but I was pretty sure it was outside the house,
Damn.
not inside. I
Look
looked
at
out the
that
back window,
old man
not seeing
cut.
anything, then moved to the front window and again saw nothing.
Then, yo, this
But
guy
then I
now,
looked
he's
out
chopped.
the front door. On the porch
He
were a
is
set of
chopped.
shoe prints in the snow. They led right up to my doorstep and then back out.
Why is every story in the snow? I just realized that every story I've watched is in the snow. Then every person is ugly as hell.
To the driveway. There was no mail dropped off or
What is
anything
this?
at all.
What
on
is
the
this face
porch,
he has? What is
just the
that?
shoe prints. It was really strange and made me feel a little anxious, not knowing why anyone would be walking up to my doorstep at 11 p.m. on Christmas Eve. I made sure the door was locked and went back to work, then got in bed.
That's the thing, though. Why do y'all like? I don't want to say the exact color, but why do y'all people always want to investigate? Like, bro, real I just walked out. People, I walked up to his door and opened it. What if the killer, or what if the weirdo wanted to do something to him? You real life just let him into your house. Like, bro, stop. Look through the peephole. Come on, bro, look through the window.
Soon after. It was a bit strange.
He
waking
went to
up on
sleep with his
Christmas morning,
blinds open,
feeling like it was any other
his
day.
curtains open.
I brewed a cup of coffee and sat on my
See?
chair to watch TV.
Only those type of people do it.
I think I spent the whole morning just sitting there and watching shows and movies. I gave my parents a call and talked
He's
to them
too
for a bit,
comfortable.
but that was really about all I did. I thought about going out, but it was really cold and the wind was really strong, so I just stayed in for the day. By 6 p.m., I had basically done nothing all day and made some dinner, planning on going to bed early.
Yeah.
But then I heard something outside.
Here we
It
go
was
again.
the shuffling sound of footsteps in the snow.
Do not open
coming
the door.
toward the front door. I stayed quiet, knowing nobody should be here. After a few seconds, the footsteps sounded again, walking away from the house. I went up and checked, seeing almost an
Why did you-
identical scene to what I saw the
Bro. Damn, I can't see myself. Why did he open the door again? What is he doing?
previous night.
What is he
After that,
doing?
I forced myself to stay up later. I kept my eyes open until probably around 10, before I guess I fell asleep on the couch. I remember getting really tired and trying to stay up, but I didn't plan on falling asleep out there.
Can't be that tired.
When I woke up, the TV was still on and flashing light throughout the dark room.
Mm-hmm.
I sat up and paused it, then got up to go to my bedroom. As I walked down the hallway, though, my eyes instantly locked on my bedroom door. It was open, but I knew I always kept it closed. I walked over and pushed it open wider, then flicked on the light. Wet shoe prints were scattered around the floor, going to and from the window. In a complete state of shock, I spun around and turned on the hallway light. now seeing more shoe prints going down toward the living
What the
room.
hell?
I followed them, but they stopped right outside the living room, looking like they turned and went back right after seeing me on the couch. The shoe prints were nowhere else in the house.
That means she's still in the house.
Police did what they could, but if I'm being honest, they weren't of much help. The current theory is that the man had come by the
Oh, hell no. Look at bro's face. He's even more ugly than him. Oh my god.
previous 2 nights to see if I was home. After not answering the door, though, he likely thought I was away for the holidays. I know it's likely that he only broke into my house to rob me, but still, it's extremely disturbing, especially since I was at home sleeping when it all happened. Whoever
Oh.
it was, though, they never came back.
Come on now.
Especially since I was at home sleeping
Bro,
when it
if
all
I...
happened.
Come on now.
Whoever it was, though, they never came back.
If somebody like this is stalking me and he walked in my house and saw me sleeping but didn't do nothing to me, that means he had something planned. That means he didn't want to do it that day. That means he didn't want something to like trace him once he did something to you. Look at his face. There's no way there's good intentions behind that face. Look at that. Come on, bro. If someone like this was walking in my house, I'm moving to a completely new state. Completely new state. Absolutely. One more. We'll watch one more.
Last December, I traveled across the country to meet my
Okay.
parents and siblings
No
for
Diddy.
Christmas.
Let me stop
My
right.
parents had a decent-sized
What?
house,
I'm not even ranking.
so we
No
would
Diddy,
usually
bro.
just
No
all
Diddy.
stay
Never mind.
there and sleep on the couch or in the spare bedrooms. That being said, I didn't rent any hotels, even for the drive. It was 10 hours long, but I just didn't see a need in stopping halfway there and wasting a whole night. I left early on the 23rd, planning it out to get to the house around dinner time. As I started the drive, snow was lightly coming down. Nothing crazy, but enough to cause a bit of traffic. This went on for a few hours, until it suddenly started pouring down. It happened over just 30 minutes, going from a very light downfall to an extremely heavy storm. Along with the winds, it was nearly impossible to see anything in front of me. Most other cars started to pull off to the side of the road, but I really wanted to keep going. I drove in these horrible conditions for the better part of an hour, having a few close calls before deciding enough was enough. I pulled into a motel and sat in the parking lot, waiting for the snow to clear up. There were a lot of other cars in the parking lot, but I think most were probably trying to wait it out like I was. But as the sun started to set, there was no chance of that happening anytime soon. I reluctantly went in and got a room. I went to my room and lay down on the bed. It was around 8 o'clock at this point, and I'd figured I'd just sleep now and see if it was clear in a few hours. I set an alarm on my phone for 11, then passed out. But when I woke up, I immediately knew something was wrong. I turned and looked at my phone, seeing it was just before 2 a.m. My alarm didn't go off. I quickly got out of bed and ran up to the window. The parking lot was almost empty now, but it was still snowing pretty bad. I sat back on the bed, and after some thinking, I decided to take the loss and just spend the rest of the night there and hope for the best in the morning. I laid down, closing my eyes, but now that I was more calm, something caught my attention. A cold breeze blowing through the room, and the clear sound of wind. I sat up, seeing the window at the end of the bed was cracked open. I got up and shut it, but I was
Did you not
almost
just open it?
positive it was closed when I went to bed. It's something I definitely would have noticed, being that there was a whole storm outside. A rush of adrenaline went through me as I started to worry. I faced the rest of the room, now looking into the dark and standing still, listening for anything. Then I slowly walked around, checking for anything missing or any signs that someone had been inside. I didn't see or find anything until I went to check out the peephole. That's when I noticed that both locks on the door were now open. Someone had unlocked it from the inside. Blood rushed from my face as I locked the door and backed away, thinking through every possible horrifying scenario that I could be caught in right now. I started putting my things back into my bag and getting ready to leave, but then there was a sudden shake of the door handle. I stared at it with wide eyes, seeing the handle move back and forth like they were trying to force it open. Then it went silent. I waited for a long couple minutes before I slowly and quietly crept toward the door to check if it was safe to make a run for my car. I looked out the peephole, seeing a man leaning against the door like he was listening. I was frozen, but he must have heard something, because only a few seconds later, he rushed away from the door.
At MedStar Health, we're here for you, wherever you are.
Yeah, see, he looks up to no good.
With MedStar.
And why are they always so scared? I mean, like, yeah, a weirdo or someone you don't know is trying to come in, but like, why do you not have no protection? Grab a knife or something. Or most importantly, you need a chop. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say it on here. You need a chop. You need to knock.
I spent no time waiting, leaving the room soon after and getting in my car, pulling out and leaving the motel. I got lucky, as nobody else was on the roads, and they seemed to have just been plowed. I drove through the storm until I got to my parents' house, taking much longer than it should have. What that man was trying to do, I can't even begin to think of. They had obviously been in the room while I was sleeping and unlocked the door.
Oh, hell no.
But what they wanted and why they had to come back to my room, I just don't know. But if I hadn't woken up when I did and stayed asleep for just a minute longer, I might have never made it to my parents' house.
For real. But that has to be fake though. That can't be a true story. It says 18 true terrifying horror stories. How does he wake up exactly when bro leaves? And when bro's about to come back? Like, that don't make no sense. Because he didn't do anything that woke you up. You just woke up for you trying to wake yourself up from your alarm. So this can't be true. There's no way. Hey, this already intriguing. I need one more. I gotta watch one more.
My roommate. We were both in college and were splitting rent on a small home in the suburbs outside of the campus. Neither of our families apparently were really big on Christmas, and we were also kind of broke, so we stayed home for winter break. We still did a bit of decorating, and had gotten each other some cheap little gifts, so we could have our own small...
I'm gonna tell y'all when I want to see this. There are two of y'all. Nothing should happen to you guys. There are two of you guys. If I see anything bad happen to y'all, it deserved to happen. It was supposed to happen.
Christmas.
Meant to happen.
But other than that, we mostly planned on watching movies and maybe going to a party at night. On Christmas Day, we opened up our gifts and hung out, and around 5, my roommate wanted to go to a party by the campus. I'd planned on going too, but for some reason, I was just tired and not really in the mood to go out. I encouraged him to go if he wanted to, and he took up on the offer, heading out by 6. I sat back and ate some junk food, watching TV, and just relaxing, I guess.
I thought he was a blonde guy.
Then around 8, I just felt like getting up and doing something. With no places open, I grabbed my jacket and decided to go for a walk around to look at the houses with Christmas lights.
That's your first mistake.
It was cold
Walking
out,
around by
but
yourself?
not insanely freezing. I walked around the neighborhood and through one of the nearby parks.
Bro thinks it's Halloween. You're walking around for literally no reason. You're looking for something to happen.
But while I was walking through a portion of the path, I passed by a man sitting on a bench. Now,
Bro walked past fucking Wolverine. That bro looks like Goldberg.
this part of the
Yeah.
path was covered in
Yeah.
trees and
Yeah,
not
bro.
by any
He
house,
about to spear you.
and the man was just sitting there alone. It was actually kind of sad, but when I passed by, he looked up at me and just gave me this really cold look.
I would too.
It was very strange and made me even more curious.
Because
he
why
was
are you
out
walking
here.
by yourself? For
I
what?
walked quicker, reaching the end of the path and turning back to go home. The rest of the walk, all I was thinking about was the man and what he was up to. Something about his look just gave me a bad feeling.
Did you see my look when you said you
I
wanted
got
to
to
walk
the
by
house
yourself?
and opened the front door, closing it behind me and taking my shoes off.
Mm-hmm.
But before I even started walking away, I heard a thump right outside the door. It startled me, having come so quickly after I'd gotten inside. I leaned over and looked through the peephole. It was the man from the path, standing
Mm-hmm.
on the porch and staring at the door. His face was completely blank, no smile or frown, just empty. I cracked open the door.
Why did you
Are you
open the
okay?
door?
The man looked at me with his emotionless eyes and didn't say a word.
Why did you open the door?
I asked again if he was okay or if he needed anything, but he didn't speak. Getting weirded out, I closed the door and went back to looking out the peephole. The man stayed there for at least a whole minute, then walked off to the side of the door until he was out of my view. I looked over, seeing the window curtains were open, giving the man a view into my house. For some reason, now I didn't want the man to see me, so I was afraid to go close the curtains. All he could probably view, though, was the Christmas tree and the couch. But it was
Mhm.
still really unnerving, knowing he was looking into my home. As I stood in place, trying to think of what to do next, a dull thud came from outside the window. I quickly stepped back and looked, seeing the man slam a large rock against the
hell?
glass. His eyes were still glazed over with no emotion, making it look even more terrifying.
This is what you
I
need the
ran
chop for.
and locked myself in a room while I dialed 911.
Okay, he's right.
Hearing the man continue to
He's-
repeatedly hit the window. After a few hits, there was a pause. Then it began again, but it sounded like he may have moved to hitting the front door. This went on for what felt like several minutes before finally it went quiet. When police pulled in, the man was nowhere around. Outside, though, there were multiple cracks in the window, and the door had entire chunks of wood smashed out and laying on the ground. The police seemed to think that it was just an intoxicated person based on the
Mhm.
information I told them, and he likely had no real reason to target me
Bro
specifically.
was not intoxicated.
Whatever the case, the way he was acting was just insane, and if he had gotten in, there's no saying what he would have done.
He would have did the right thing, because why the hell did you open the door and let him see you? Why did you do that? You let him know you were there. Even though he followed you? Why did you let him see you again? Alright, Chad, this is going to be the end of it. You'll also see this on TikTok.
Here in the deep blue sea. It's completely idiotic.
Proud